Damn, that was an ass kicking. That was an ass kicking. I would start off by welcoming you to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you several times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube. I tell you that, guess what? Major props and thanks to all of y'all for boosting my subscribers to 685,000, for buying my book, Straight Shooter, where you can go to straightshooterbook.com to get a copy of my New York Times best-selling book. I'd say all of that. But I find myself with goosebumps. I'm experiencing the goosebumps right now because we're going to have ourselves NBA Finals. See, when you love the game of basketball the way that I do, this is what you live for. This is what you live for right here. It's Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It's against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And why do I say that? Because the Minnesota Timberwolves, an elite defense all year, the #1 defense in the National Basketball Association, who put the clamps on the Denver Nuggets, the reigning defending NBA champions at the time, in such a manner in the first half of Game 2, in such a manner in the second half of Game 7, that I said to myself, my God, they can win it all. They could win it all. We see the Ant-Man ascending and elevating his level of play to such a degree that it warranted comparisons at that age anyway, the tender age of 22, to the likes of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. We did all of this. And then Luka Doncic showed up in Minnesota last night, in Minneapolis, and bust their living ass. Ladies and gentlemen, when you love the game of basketball, it's moments like this that you're loving it. So Luka Doncic shoots 7 of 21 from the field in Game 4. He doesn't have a good game. The Dallas Mavericks end up losing the game and not being able to sweep the Minnesota T-Wolves on their home turf and have to travel back to Minnesota for the Game 5. And you got guys like Jalen McDaniels talking smack about how they can run the table and they only really had one good game against us. We can take them. We think we can just run the table and win the rest of the games. And Luka Doncic came out in the first quarter. And again, it's worth repeating and reiterating with the fervor that I'm going to do it. Bust their living ass. Yes, he did. That's what he did. Okay? He comes out 1-3 after another, penetrating into the lane, shooting fall-away jump shots, doing it at his place. Looks slow as a snail half the time. Doesn't matter. Can't stop him. He's a legit 6'7", a legit 240 to 250 pounds. Does what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and there was nothing, absolutely, positively nothing, that the Minnesota Timberwolves could do about it. And so we're sitting there watching all of this. Luka Doncic scored. Did you know he outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves by himself in the first quarter? He had 20 in the first quarter. Did you know that when he hit a 3 for his 17th point of the quarter, he was screaming? And that was the only noise you heard in the arena? Did you see him looking over at Minnesota's entire bench and telling them what he was going to do to them, how he was going to do it to them, and then did it? Did you know that with Anthony Edwards guarding him last night, he didn't miss a shot? Did you know that he abused Jaden McDaniels? I mean, you can't make this up. And here's the beauty of it, ladies and gentlemen. Not only did Luka do that en route to a 36-point performance and winning the Western Conference Finals MVP award, most outstanding player, forget all of that for a second. After he did it, and keep in mind, he scored 12 points in the first 2 minutes and 53 seconds of the game. I'm going to repeat that. In the first 2 minutes and 53 seconds of the game, Luka Doncic had 12 points. Came out swinging, came out drilling threes, came out screaming, came out flickering his fingers like, whoo, I'm hot. Y'all gonna get it tonight. And the Minnesota Timberwolves had no answer. No answer whatsoever. And so we look at that, and then to make matters worse, Luka took a break to start the second quarter. And when he took a break to start the second quarter, he said, Kyrie, it's your turn. And Kyrie proceeds to score 15 points in the second quarter, hitting all 5 of his shots, penetrating into the teeth of the defense, getting in the lane, layups off the glass, fall away jump shots, step back threes. Jab step 3, busting their living ass. That's what he did. And I got to tell you something right now. I don't know what to say. Because, again, I thought Minnesota would win the series at the beginning of the season. I thought Minnesota had them in 7 games. I thought it would take 7 games, but I thought they had them because I thought it was a matchup problem for them. Okay? And I thought that it was something that they had to be mindful of because I looked at Minnesota saying, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, you got the size. Dallas didn't care. Gafford and Lively did their job. P.J. Washington hit jump shots, did his job. Derek Jones, as athletic as he is, doing his job. And then, of course, there's Luka and Kyrie, who's one of the most unstoppable backcourts in the history of the game of basketball. And so now, you see what they see. And all of a sudden, we're hearing some of this noise. Remember, Kyrie Irving had 36 points as well. Remember, he had 5 assists, didn't have a single turnover last night. Remember that. Remember that in this series, Luka and Kyrie outscored Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns 59-44 points per game. Combined shots, 43.2% for Luka and Kyrie, 37.4%. Obviously, they shot 48 to 41% from the field, 41 to 32% from three-point range. Last night, they combined for 72 points on 57% shooting, 10 of 20 from threes. That's 50%. This is what they've done. Karl Anthony Towns, three-point shooting in the conference finals. In the game 4, went 4 of 5 for 80%. In the 4 losses, 4 of 28, 17%. This is the self-proclaimed best shooting big man in the game of basketball. Love Karl Anthony Towns. Didn't handle his business the way one would surmise. Which leaves a whole bunch of people questioning what are you going to do with Minnesota now that they're on their way home? What you going to do to get Anthony Edwards some additional help? The mindset is keep the team intact. Don't do anything. I say hold on now, hold your horses. You got to probe. You got to investigate. You got to gauge what you can get for Karl Anthony Towns. You can't just summarily dismiss that. Karl Anthony Towns is a 6'11 cat that can shoot. And I get that. But when you consider his value, what could you potentially get for Karl Anthony Towns if you were willing to move him? I think that's something to think about. If I'm the Golden State Warriors, why wouldn't I be interested in Karl Anthony Towns? I got a 6'11 dude that can defend post players, but can step away from the basket and shoot. On a team where you got a shooter like Steph Curry. And you'll probably keep Klay Thompson. I got to think about those things. Although if I'm Golden State, I'm talking to Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City's got a bevy of picks. And if Klay Thompson was on that team with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who the hell knows what could happen? I got to think about all those things. I'm not saying to trade Karl Anthony Towns. I'm not saying to do that at all. I'm simply saying you have to investigate. You got to probe. You got to see what you can get for him, what his value truly is before you just close that door. Because who's to say what you could get for him to pair with Anthony Edwards? That's something worth considering, but we can talk about that another day. The Dallas Mavericks are going to the NBA Finals. That's what they're doing. And because they're going to the NBA Finals, we're going to have a thriller. So I'll wait to get into all of that. I want to transition specifically to Kyrie Irving. Because now that we're getting to the NBA Finals, that means Kyrie Irving is going back to Boston for Game 1 next Thursday night. He and the Dallas Mavericks are now the only thing standing between the Celtics securing their 18th title in franchise history. If you recall, Kyrie played for Boston from 2017 to 2019 and was his usual all-star self on the court. However, his tenure was marred by injuries, questionable comments, and of course actions off the court before he departed from Brooklyn. Critics say he failed to mentor Boston's current all-stars Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Irving's relationship with the Celtics fans became broken beyond repair when he signed with Brooklyn Nets a few months after announcing his intention to re-sign with Boston. You remember that he said, if you want me here, I'll be here. I'm happy to stay here. And then obviously he changed his mind. That was the same place where he was spreading sage around the basketball court and all of this other stuff just seemed to be weirding out to some degree. That was Kyrie then. This is now. Kyrie was stressed then. Kyrie was going through a lot of things then. Kyrie admittedly wasn't the person that he needed to be, wasn't the professional that he needed to be, was a bit distracted and unfocused on the game of basketball. All of these things are things that Kyrie Irving pointed out and is willing to admit in this day and age. I don't give a damn about any of that now. What I care about is a guy that looks like one of the most spectacular sidekicks in the history of the NBA. He ain't Scottie Pippen, 6 rings with Jordan. He ain't Kobe Bryant, 5 rings with Shaquille O'Neal. 3 rings, with Shaquille O'Neal. But outside of that, Kyrie Irving, between 3 and 5, is one of the top sidekicks in the history of basketball. Because we're certainly not going to call Luka Doncic a sidekick. So we got to look at it from that perspective. Kyrie Irving is spectacular. He's a magician with the basketball on the offensive side of the ball. Plus, he's playing defense. Plus, he's giving you leadership. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you something right now. I cannot wait for this NBA Final Series. I don't think I've been this excited for an NBA Final Series in a decade. Because Kyrie's going back to Boston. And Porzingis is going back to Dallas. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going up against Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic with a championship at stake. It don't get much better than that, y'all. It don't get much better than that. I'll talk about that more in a second. Make no mistake about it. But coming up, much more in the NBA. Obviously, I talked to you about where Minnesota goes from here because we still don't know that, and I alluded to that. Plus, did y'all see that Darren Waller video? You see it? If you haven't, you might want to stick around and check that out. I'll give you my thoughts next. Stay right there. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming your way in a minute. What's up, everybody? Okay, it's time again. You know what time it is. It's time for Stephen A's Weekly Picks. If you don't know by now, I've teamed up with Prize Picks, the biggest fantasy sports game in all the land, to help you win some big-time money. Prize Picks is a skill-based daily fantasy sports app where you choose 2 or more players and predict if they will have more or less than their projected in-game stats, okay? It's not only fun, but incredibly easy to play, in case you didn't know. I mean, you can do it in less time than it takes for Caitlin Clark to cross midcourt and pull up for a game-winning 3, assuming she's going to do that at some point this season. Pick the stats for any of the players you root for, Luka Doncic, Aaron Judge, or even Dustin Poirier, who's fighting this weekend, and then sit back and watch. So go to prizepicks.com and use promo code SAS for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100, okay? That's right. Go to prizepicks.com, type in my initials, SAS, for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And if you go to PrizePicks app, you'll be able to see my picks for today. Now let's look at today's winning picks, all right? Because they're all winners. You know what time it is. Asia Wilson, more or less than 12 rebounds, okay? Is Asia Wilson. You think I'm going to say less? She's a superstar. She's the face of the WNBA. She does what she does, okay? She's 2-time champion. This is what she does. Of course, I'm going to go with more. Kelsey Plum, more or less than 5 assists. Well, clearly she has a profound effect on people, in case you didn't know. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to go with more assists. DeWanna Bonner, more or less than 19.5 points. I don't know about that one. I'm going to have to go with less. Less with DeWanna Bonner, okay? And last but not least, Alicia Clark, more or less than 7.5 points. We're going to go with more on this one. Not too sure about the last 2, Bonner and Clark, more guessing than anything else. But when it comes to Asia Wilson and Kelsey Plum, I'm kind of knowledgeable about those 2 ladies, all right? More on both of those. I'm good with that. Guessing on Bonner, I'm going to go with more on Alicia Clark. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Actually, it's a winning formula. Stick with it. I am.
It's a lot of our guys' first time being in this light, so especially me, it's my first time. So we'll be ready, man. We'll be all right. First time, took a loss. Congratulations to the Mavericks, and we'll be back. We'll be all right.
That was the great Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. I want to take some time to reflect on the season we just witnessed from Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, to be honest with you. Yeah, they were dominated last night. Bum rush, beat down, embarrassed, and sent packing by Dallas. But to me, anyway, that didn't dampen Anthony Edwards' outlook on the Timberwolves' future one bit. You heard what he had to say, and I give him credit for a lot of it. A lot of the things that happened for him this season, he clearly worked on his game. He clearly improved his game exponentially, and he's got reason to be optimistic because the Minnesota Timberwolves are a pretty damn good team. So we get that. And Anthony Edwards, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder for you, he's only 22 years of age. But there's some things to point out about Minnesota that we got to pay attention to. Number one, they're committed to $196.2 million in salary. So we got to get that out the way. Their tax threshold at $171.3 million. You got to take that into consideration as well. They've got the 27th pick and the 37th pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Their free agents to be Jordan McLaughlin, Monty Morris, and Kyle Anderson. As far as I'm concerned, all three can go. Slow-mo Kyle Anderson, I like him. Love him as a person, like him as a guy. Guarding Luka Doncic, embracing that assignment and stuff like that. I get it. But my God, he's so slow. He's so slow. And there's just so many limitations to his game. You've got to upgrade. You just do. There's also the thing about Minnesota's ownership because Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry planned on owning a majority stake in the franchise, about 60%. 60% of it was supposed to be at about $900 million since it was being sold for 1.5, since its worth, rather, its valuation is at $1.5 billion. Glenn Taylor, the owner for the Timberwolves, seems to have reneged on that and wanted to maintain a controlling interest. A lot of belief is that he wanted to be a part of the team and wanted to be right there in the mix because he thought they were going to win the title. And he wanted to be right there after all the years being in this position. He wanted to be right there when they hoisted that trophy so he could be an individual that was seen front and center. At least that's what some people say. I don't know how much truth there is to that. What I do know is this. I can't imagine that Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez will come up with $600 million or $900 million, and then somehow, some way, after an ironclad commitment, he's able to back out of that. But still in all, when you look at their financial stability right now, it's a question mark. Now, once upon a time during COVID, the valuation of their franchise at $1.5 billion, now it's got to be at least double that, which also could play a role in why Glenn Taylor suddenly wanted to renege on selling the team because he realizes he probably was getting hosed because it's worth double what I thought it was going to be, what I thought it was going to be worth. But that's not Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry's problem. That's a Glenn Taylor problem. But still in all, you got to pay attention to what may go on, what the fallout from that may be. So we can't escape that. As it pertains to the state of the roster, you can't let the embarrassing Game 5 loss to Dallas change the narrative on this season. There's a strong foundation to build upon. They did win 56 games, second most in franchise history. They did reach the conference finals for the first time since 2004. And in terms of who they return, NBA Sixth Man of the Year, Naz Reid, key reserves, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And then you got All-NBA and future MVP candidate Anthony Edwards. He's set to begin year one of a 5-year contract and isn't a free agent until 2029. The same goes for Jaden McDaniels, who's on a new 5-year deal. All-Star Karl Anthony Towns and NBA Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert have 4 years and 2 years, respectively, left on their contracts, right? So you have the foundation. You have the foundation. Again, it comes down to who can you get to pair with Anthony Edwards that's going to elevate them. In order to get anybody, ladies and gentlemen, what you have to say is Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert that's going to have to go in order for you to get the kind of equitable compensation that's going to elevate this franchise from a conference finals appearance and 56 wins and a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. It just comes down to that. It just comes down to that. Let me move on to a bigger subject that I'm very, very passionate about right now because I'm going to reiterate and just repeat myself. I cannot wait. When I saw Luka performing the way that he performed last night, all I could think about was Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving versus Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. getting to the NBA Finals, is featuring a matchup of 4 perennial All-Stars. I gave you their names already. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get any better than this. The Celtics have home court advantage and open as the betting favorites to win it all. No surprise there. It's also their second appearance in the finals in the last 3 years, but they're going up against who some would say is a better offensive duo than Tatum and Brown and Luka and Kyrie. Doncic averaged 35, 15, and 12 in the 2 meetings against the Celtics this season, but Boston won both games. Some would say fairly easily. Here's where I'm going with this. And I need everybody to pay attention, everybody to listen. When it comes to the game of basketball, as is the case with any team sport, it's team, team, team. P.J. Washington is going to be pivotal. Derrick Jones is going to be pivotal. Gafford and Lively for Dallas is definitely going to be pivotal. Porzingis being back, I don't think Boston wins a championship without Porzingis. Porzingis is going to be incredibly pivotal. And by the way, when you think about Kyrie, Kyrie doesn't have to just have Jaylen Brown to worry about as a defender. He has Drew Holiday to worry about. Drew Holiday is one of the elite defenders this game has seen, but I don't think he has anything for Kyrie Irving. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And then there's Derek White, who's a utility dude that does a lot of things that are very, very good for the Boston Celtics. Now, their depth on their bench may not be great, and I get that part, and that might spell their doom for all we know. But in the end, ladies and gentlemen, we could talk all of this stuff. We could talk about everybody. We can talk about the cities. We can talk about the history of Kyrie. We can talk about the history of Porzingis and his supposed friction with Luka Doncic. We can talk about all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, we talking ball. We talking basketball. And in the sport of basketball, on most occasions, it comes down to the stars and separating the great ones from the really, really good ones. The bona fide ones from the wannabes. Now, last time I checked, Luka ain't been in this situation before, but boy, does he look ready. Kyrie's a champion. Kyrie's been to 3 NBA Finals. He's won 1. He's been here before. This ain't new news to him. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have both been to an NBA Finals before 2 years ago. They've both been to numerous conference final series. They still don't have a championship. They still don't have a championship. And you got to get it done. So I'm here to tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait for this. This is what basketball is all about. And if you Jason Tatum and you Jaylen Brown, what you going to do? I already talked about Jaylen Brown. Let me reiterate what I'm saying. When I talked about somebody texting me and saying he's not liked and he knows it, I wasn't blaming him for that. I wasn't calling him a bad guy. The brother is a serious dude. He doesn't tolerate fools. He's an elite player. He's a spectacular player as far as I'm concerned. And when he got over $300 million with his new contract last summer, let me tell you something right now. Nobody can sneeze at that. Jaylen Brown can ball, and we all know it. He was the better ball player for the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals 2 years ago against the Golden State Warriors. But he wasn't the player he needed to be in Game 7 of last year's Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat once Jason Tatum injured himself in the first minute of the game. And when you look at a Jaylen Brown right now, ladies and gentlemen, I had him voted on third team All-NBA. And he clearly had a lot of attitude for others not picking him for that. I had him third team All-NBA. But let me also be clear about something. When Isaiah Thomas went out and tweeted and talked about he's very marketable, that's not true. He should be, but he's not. You know how many people out there got sneaker deals? AD and LeBron got a sneaker deal. Luka and Kyrie's got a sneaker deal. Giannis and Dame got a sneaker deal. Everywhere you turn, there's sneaker deals. Jason Tatum got sneaker deals. He's got, you see all the damn commercials Jason Tatum has? Where's Jaylen Brown's commercials? Where's his endorsement deals? Where's his signature sneaker? Where's his sneaker deal at? Why wouldn't he have it? Boston's the best team in basketball. They had the best record all season. And on top of it all, he was the leading reason as to why that was the case, along with Tatum. Why wouldn't he have all of that? Does that sound like somebody that's liked to you by Madison Avenue, by corporate America, by the people who dole out those kind of opportunities and those kind of dollars? Evidently not. That's the situation with Jaylen Brown. You know what alleviates all of that? If you go into the finals against Luka and Kyrie and you destroy them, that's what. You Jason Tatum. You know, they call Steph Curry the babyface assassin. Jason Tatum ain't far off. He's just about 6 inches taller. You see his boy Deuce, that beautiful little son of his that's always on the court before the games. You know how much he loves his baby boy? He is incredibly marketable and scoring 27 a game and first team All-NBA with endorsement deals out the wazoo. That's Jason Tatum. As somebody called me about him the other day, talking about, come on, man, when's he going to get enough credit? When's he going to get enough credit? Why are people being so critical of him? I said, stop. They ain't being critical of him. They're pointing out the obvious. He hasn't closed. You want to hear about numbers? You don't want to hear about, oh, you got teammates and it's a collective effort. Who the hell don't know that? It takes everybody. We understand that. But in the sport of basketball, as Luka displayed last night against Minnesota, ultimately it comes down to you. What you gonna do? Where you gonna stand? What's that gonna be like? In a game of basketball, unlike most sports, at some point in time, schematics go out the window. Schemes and plots and plans, and it goes right out the window. And it's about the superstars. Here you go. What you gonna do? Take us there. And I never have a problem with it, because if you're willing to go to the negotiating table and say that you're worth more than 99% of the people in the league and damn near 100% of the people you play on a team with, then you should be that dude who closes. You should be that dude that has that responsibility thrusted upon their shoulders. We've seen Jaylen Brown hit 3 from the left corner to tie the game, send it into overtime, and win the game against Indiana. We've seen this brother step up and close the deal in Game 4 against Indiana. We saw him win the most outstanding player for the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum, it's your turn. That's Luka over there waiting for you. That's Kyrie over there waiting for you. And you saw what Kyrie said when Ernie Johnson for TNT asked him about Boston, his former team. Wait for them, right? Kyrie said, yo, they standing in our way. They stand in the way trying to prevent us of what we want. We here for it. He elaborated extensively further during a different interview with ESPN's Monica McNutt when he was talking about, yo, I learned a lot. And I had some rough times and stuff like that, but now I'm better equipped to handle it. So I'm ready to go. That's what he said. He's ready. Luka's ready. They coming for the chip. And it's against one of the top 2 most storied basketball franchise in basketball annals, with 17 championship banners hanging from its rafters, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown holding down the fort. I mean, it don't get much better than this. We usually see a superstar on each team. You got 2 on each team? Oh, yeah. We gonna find out who's legit and who's a wannabe. Oh, we gonna find this out. And I can't wait. Oh, this is beautiful. Before I go to break, yesterday, on a lighter side of a story, to some degree anyway, New York Giants tight end Darren Waller, he dropped a music video, y'all, about his divorce from 2-time WNBA champion Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces. The video featured a Plum lookalike. Now, you might recall, the sports power couple announced their divorce last month after 1 year of marriage, with Plum writing this on social media at the time, quote, I walked through fire for that man, but now I see it's time to go. God has given me an incredible life, and I'm truly so grateful for the profound love from my family and friends. Now, look, before I say anything, I got a responsibility to say this to you now. Since the split, Plum appears to be living her best life with head-turning pregame outfits, a Skims ad, and a new line of cigars that has social media buzzing. Plum's also off to a strong start with a 4-on-1 aces, averaging 18 points and career-high 5.6 assists per game. I didn't know what this was about. But before I say anything else, I need y'all to look at this video.
You know, in life, it's hard to love. It's hard to be free. It's hard to give all of your soul and have your heart broken in return, but it's time. Take your time ahead. Just take a time out and feel the nights we opened up and we knew how much that you and I were real. How long I gotta climb up this hill. I'm tired and I wanna be still. Imagine if we fell out of tune, cause fuck, who knew that love could kill? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought our love was real. Who knew that love could kill? Whoa, whoa.
Could y'all please get that out my ear? Get it out my ear! Yes, I'm screaming at my producers. Did you hear how that man sound? You don't keep something like that in somebody's ear. Somebody's got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, that shit was so bad, that might be why she left. Lord, let me not make fun. I'm only making fun of his voice, not his situation, just his voice. I mean, that sounded as bad as I sound. I sound no better than that, but that was really, really, really bad. You know what I can't help but thinking? She said, because we got to be fair here, Kelsey Plum said, I've gone through fire for him. Now it's time for me to go. That means he messed up. I'm just doing, my love advice kind of thing. That means he messed up. She don't say something like that when you amicably part ways, or she just wants to move on, but you did nothing wrong, or she messed up. She don't say, I've gone through fire for him. Now it's time for me to go. That implies he messed up. And far be it for me to give this kind of advice, because you got people out there that are married, and some of y'all think the best advice to receive is from a happily married person. I can't dispute that, but I don't know whether or not that's true. I'm just going to give you the real. Ladies and gentlemen, always remember I said this. There is nothing more painful. I should say nothing. Deaths in the family, death of a loved one, stuff like that. Yes, that's more painful. As it pertains to breakups, relationship breakups. Remember I said this, if nothing else. There is nothing. Aaron, stop laughing. Listen to me. This is important. Griffith, this is important. Galen, listen, this is important. To the ladies, Sherry and everybody else. Sherry, Betty, everybody. Jennifer, you listen up. It's important. When it comes to relationships, there is nothing more painful to deal with than losing out on someone you love and want, knowing you're the one who fucked up. Now, if they messed up, it might hurt, but you get over it because they messed up. It might hurt like hell to be without them. But you're able to look at them and say, they didn't appreciate you. They didn't value you. They didn't respect you. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Yeah, you good. You good. The hardest stuff to recover from is when you're the one who messed up. When you have to look in the mirror and know that you no longer have that love in your life because of something or some things you may have done, is the hardest stuff in the world to recover from. And it's not even about you getting caught for anything or anything like that. It's what you know in your soul. It's what you know in your soul you are responsible for. Never forget I said that. Never, ever forget that I said that. Don't you be the one that messes up. We use that in sports all the time. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be you. It applies to relationships too. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be you that couldn't get the job done. Don't let it be you that wasn't satisfactory. Don't let it be you that was a negative person. Don't let it be you that brings spirits down. Don't let it be you that instigates unhappiness and misery. Make sure it's them. Because if it's you, you ain't going to get over that as easily as you think. Now get on out of here. I'm Stephen A. I got other work to do, all right? Coming up, I've got more to say about yesterday's historic guilty verdict of former President Donald Trump. Some additional numbers you might want to hear, plus additional perspective. Stick around. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube. Back with more in a minute.
Oh, my Lord. Have you been watching the NBA playoffs? Because you know I have. And yes, they've been fantastic. Make no mistake about it. But do you know what else makes watching them even more exciting, even more scintillating? Prize Picks, of course. That's what the hell I'm talking about. In case you didn't know this. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you can select 2 or more of your favorite players and then pick more or less on their projected stats for the game. So with a big event happening each and every single night, Prize Picks is here to help you cash in on all that real-time action. I make my picks every night in less than 60 seconds. Then I sit back, I watch, and I wait for the cash. But Prize Picks doesn't stop at the NBA. Oh, no. You can choose from a myriad of sports, the WNBA, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, even MMA, and everything in between. And get this, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. You heard me right. Go to prizepicks.com and use code SAS. That's my initials, of course, for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's SAS when you go to prizepicks.com and use the promo code. Pick more, pick less. It's really, really that easy.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here we go with the BS. Yesterday, former President Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felony charges related to falsifying documents and a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. A jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberated for nearly 10 hours before returning the guilty verdicts. It was the first time in U.S. history that a former president faced a criminal trial and now a conviction. Now, all of this is reportedly turned into a windfall of the presumptive GOP nominee, just like I told y'all it would. Trump's campaign says they've raised nearly $40 million since the conviction yesterday. He spoke today, blasting the conviction in front of Trump Tower in New York City. Here's what he had to say.
This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people, more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change. where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. But we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it better than ever before. November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country.
That's Election Day. It's Election Day. We'll see. As for the White House, President Biden obviously responded to Trump's remarks, claiming a rigged trial this afternoon. Listen up.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict. Our justice system has endured for nearly 250 years, and it literally is the cornerstone of America, our justice system. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down.
Before I get into my opinions, let me say this. As a convicted felon in New York, Trump cannot vote in the Empire State. However, as a Florida resident, he's eligible to vote in the November election. See, a couple of things that I wanted to point to. Number one, didn't I tell y'all yesterday? I mean, at some point in time, not to pat myself on the back, but is somebody going to sit up there and say Stephen A. had a point? Stephen A. was right. I told y'all he keeps coming. I said months ago, you better get him. You better get him. It can't be one of those situations where he's not in jail. It can't be one of those situations where he's still the GOP, the presumptive GOP nominee who becomes the GOP nominee. It can't be that. You got to beat him. Or you got to take him out and prevent him from running. It can't be an in-between. I told y'all when he got convicted yesterday, how much you want to make a bet? He was going to use this for campaign fodder. He was going to generate more funds. Over $40 million in 24 hours? Or nearly $40 million in 24 hours? That's what he's done. That's what he's done. He can still run for office. He's still a presumptive GOP nominee. He still gets to vote for himself in the November election because he's a Florida resident. All of this stuff is happening. And by the way, if he gets convicted, because we have a system, everybody want to brag about, like Outkick wrote something about me today, talking about I'm spewing CNN points. No, hell with CNN. Fox News, MSNBC, this ain't about any of that. I'm not taking sides here. I'm simply pointing out, damn, look at what's transpiring. We can't ignore this. Just like we can't ignore the fact that he is a convicted felon. Just like we can't ignore the fact that he was deemed to be a pathological liar in some people's eyes. Just like we can't ignore the fact that chaos reigned in the streets a lot of times in terms of how divisive our culture had become up to his last election against Biden before he lost that by more than 6 million votes, 7 million votes. Just like I pointed that out, I pointed out how Biden's slipping. The momentum is swelling for Trump. He was ahead in 6 of the 7 polls as recently as weeks ago. He's the presumptive GOP nominee. Everybody else has backed out. They've conceded he's the man. On the right, whether it's Vivek Ramaswamy, whether it's Nikki Haley, whether it's Chris Christie, whether it's Ron DeSantis, it doesn't matter. He's the guy. And you're going to have to deal with him. And then when he gets convicted yesterday, I told y'all, he's going to generate more money. And we got our founding fathers, these folks on the right, screaming about the Constitution, the Constitution. Well, why the hell does the Constitution allow for somebody who's convicted of a felony, in his case, 34 felonies, albeit Class E misdemeanors, Class E felonies, rather, which were basically misdemeanors in a lot of people's eyes because it doesn't involve any jail time. The bottom line is this. Our society allows for him to still run for president. Even if the judge on July 11th assuming it doesn't get moved, the court date doesn't get moved back 4 days before the Republican National Convention, by the way, even if they threw Trump in jail, do you know he can still run? You know you're still allowed to vote for him? You know he's still allowed to win the White House if he receives more electoral college votes, even from prison? Makes no sense. That's not a CNN or a leftist or liberal talking point. It's a fact. And it's a fact that there's something wrong with our Constitution that something like that can exist. I, for one, look at this as simple. The man tried to keep quiet. He gave money to a porn star to keep quiet because if it had gotten out, he might have lost the election. That's how I view it. I think the charges wait for him in Georgia and various other places are more serious. I think that's been validated by all the speculation that after receiving a guilty verdict on all 34 counts, the likelihood is that he's going to get probation and not jail time. That's not me playing around. That's not me dismissing what he may have done or what the courts now say he has done. It's me saying, well, if it was that damn serious, how come his ass ain't going to jail? It's a legitimate question. And now here we are with the November election rapidly approaching, with the Republican National Convention rapidly approaching, with Trump claiming once again something is rigged, with him claiming now they're trying to swing the election and they're engaging in lawfare to swing the election. Biden came out appropriately and spoke out against it. Now, it's going to behoove Biden to be as consistent when it comes to his son and what people are going to say about his son, especially if for any reason his son gets off. It behooves President Biden to be aware of all of that. It also behooves him to be on high alert, to be ready to compete for the presidency in November, because clearly he doesn't plan on stepping aside for Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, or anybody else. So it is what it is. But I'm just looking at this upcoming election, because last election, 2020, Trump lost to Biden, 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232. Biden had 81,283,501 votes to Trump's 74,223,975,000. That's more than 7 million votes that Biden won with the popular vote tally. But you know what it also says? How many people voted? 159.7 million, about 66.8% of the voting eligible population. That means 33.2% didn't vote. This upcoming election, it's projected that there will be 244 million eligible voters. It was 239.2 million in 2020. Now it's risen to 244 million. Eligible voters scheduled to be at this election. It's about participation. Black folks got to go to the poll. Latinos got to go to the polls. Women have to go to the polls. All of this stuff are the things that we're hearing right now. This ain't about the left or the right. This is about our society, our democracy, mayhem taking place in the streets of America. And this dude, Trump, is milking it, even while being a now convicted felon. He's getting money for his campaign. The support is swelling. And on top of it all, he's spewing about the very concerns American citizens have. Safety in the streets of America. Is the economy really as good as the left says it is? The labor participation rate in the workforce. How many jobs do you have to get to make ends meet and to be able to pay the bills that you used to be able to pay with one job? Inflation. What about the ladies in terms of the Supreme Court ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade? You hearing all of these things going on. Trump don't talk about that much because he can't. He'll lose that battle. But a lot of the other stuff, people are paying attention to it. And what it really, really comes down to is Biden going to be able to get people to the polls in 2024 the way he was able to get people to the polls in 2020? It's not about more people voting for Trump than voting for Biden. It's whether or not the same amount of people that voted for Biden are going to show up to the polls to vote for him again, or they're going to be couch potatoes, whistling into the wind, but won't want to get their behinds up off the couch to go to the voting polls, or to even send in mail-in ballots. That's the concern. And the fact that it's the concern when your opponent is now a convicted felon, who, by the way, lost a $34 or $454 million civil suit prior to this, who's got about 3 other cases up against him, in all likelihood before this year is out. How in God's name is he still a high-end competitor for the presidency against our resident incumbent in President Biden? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And when it comes to black folks, that's something we're going to get into in the weeks to come, because folks have said we've decided elections in the past. We damn sure are going to play a pivotal role in this upcoming election. It's going to be real interesting to find out where so many people are at, how they truly, truly feel, and how substantive their arguments are for or against either candidate. Oh, that's something we're going to touch on this show. Again, that's not about politics. That's about social issues. That's about social commentary. That's about real life. We're going to have that discussion. Make no mistake about it. On to a lighter note, before I get on out of here for the day. And I'm going to read some tweets at the end of the show, a couple of tweets before I get on out of here. But I got to admit to you, some of my boys, we look at they look at me sometimes and they go like this. When it comes to us black folks, some of my boys joke, you see, man, that's why I can't hang with y'all. Obviously, they joking because we hang with each other. But they joke around with stuff like that, and this is the kind of stuff they're talking about. It involves a court case, going from one court case to another, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to admit to you, if it gets any dumber than what I'm about to show you, please let me know. A man in Michigan with a suspended driver's license. Do you know what this man did? He had to appear via video in court for the suspended driver's license case. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know he joined the court via Zoom while driving? You don't believe me? Take a look for yourself, please.
Assistant Public Defender Natalie Tate for Mr. Harris, who should be present via Zoom.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driver while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. And he didn't have a license. I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
Ladies and gentlemen, that man right there might be one of the dumbest individuals we've seen. I mean, when you talk about bloopers or straight dummies, okay, and you think about a top 10 category, that dude is on it. So let me remind you of what happened. He has a suspended driver's license. His license has been suspended. He is supposed to show up for court via Zoom to speak to the judge and hear from the judge in regards to the suspended driver's license. And he's on video, and the judge says, "You're driving?" He said, "I'm driving to my doctor's office. I'm pulling up right now." Hold on. So it's bad enough you were driving. It's bad enough you were on video driving where the judge could see you. But then you told the judge to wait while you needed to park and pull up so you could be stationary while you're talking to the judge about your suspended driver's license when you just exposed yourself for driving to him. Ladies and gentlemen, that judge didn't just issue the warrant because he broke the law. That was a crime of stupidity. That man said, turn yourself in by 6 o'clock, otherwise there'll be a warrant out for you and there'll be no bail, there'll be no bond. And he deserves it because that's just stupid. That's just stupid. You got a girl, you got one of your boys, you got a family member, somebody. If you were in the passenger seat, that would have worked. Or what you could have done is you could have pulled over on the side of the road, hopped into the passenger seat, and said, "Yo, I'm in the passenger seat." But he didn't do that. He told the judge, hold on, I'm parking right now, going to the doctor's office. Just give me 1 second, just 1 second. So you're going to make the judge wait. I genuinely don't know about some folks sometimes. If you're going to be on Zoom from your camera phone, did you ever think to turn the camera off to make sure the judge could hear you? We didn't even bring that up. You didn't have to be seen. You could have been heard. At least until you parked. He didn't even do that. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what that's called? That's called a new fool. A new fool. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. It's hilarious, okay? He ain't getting no sympathy from me. That's just stupid. Let's go to tweets before we get on out here for the day. I got to put on my glasses for some of this fine print that I'm looking at right here. At Mo Jazula, he writes, "What is the memorable sporting event you've ever been to?" Are you saying the most memorable sporting event? Well, I was at Jordan's push off of Byron Russell to pull up in the pose and a jump shot to win his 6th championship in Utah in 1998. That was one for the ages. I covered Allen Iverson's run to the NBA Finals in 2001. That was one for the ages. I was there at the Staples Center when Kobe crossed over a Portland Trailblazer, I think it was Pippen, and then penetrated into the lane and threw the alley-oop to Shaq, who tore it down and then ran up the court and was pointing to everybody and stuff like that en route to their first ever championship together. I was there for that. I still say it's Jordan. The crossover, the push-off, the pull-up, the pose for the last championship of his career. Ain't no memory greater than that. But there are others were really, really good. Next up, let's see here. Not this one, but this is at, let's see here. Some of these things they sent me. At Tattooed Pokemon. Writes, "Hey, Stephen A., do you eat your hot dogs with or without the peel?" Well, first of all, don't you mean a banana? It's not it doesn't look like a hot dog. But either way you slice it, ain't about a peel. It's about the meat and the bread. I don't recall a hot dog being peeled. I don't even know how to answer that question. I take the hot dog, which is the meat. I put it in between the bun. If it's sauerkraut, it's just sauerkraut. If I don't have sauerkraut, my second choice is a little bit of mustard, a little bit of ketchup, and that's it. But I prefer my sauerkraut. And it has to be beef because I'm not trying to eat the pork. That's just me, okay? That's just me in a nutshell. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. Here's the last tweet. It's by @CookedByRiley0 writes, "You have an hour to survive in a room with either a tiger, a crocodile, or a bear for $100,000. Which animal are you choosing?" How about none of them, damn it? Because I ain't interested in dying for $100,000. All three would kill my ass. All three would eat me to kill me. The bear might paw me to death before crushing my skull, eating me, or whatever. The other two would clearly chew on me. If I had to pick between one of the three, it would be the crocodile, because we wouldn't be in water, we'd be in a room. So in a room with the crocodile, I'd stand half a chance because it's on a land surface as opposed to the water where it would be his domain over mine. The tiger, the bear, I got no shot. So I'm going to pick the crocodile, but the real answer is none of the three. Because I'd rather live my life than die trying to get $100,000. You get that? Do you get that? Some of these ignorant ass questions y'all be asking me, boy, you're lucky I answered them. You're lucky I answered it. I got to get on out of here for the day and the weekend. The NBA's Eastern and Western Conference Finals are over. There will be no NBA action this weekend. It will be me and various others in the industry preparing for what is sure to be an epic NBA Finals with the Boston Celtics, led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, going up against the Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. One other thought before I leave on out of here, y'all. Do y'all realize that right now, over the last 3 years, we've been debating who the top 3 players in the world are? Do you know all of them are European players? Giannis, Jokic, Luka. To the brothers in the NBA. What's up with that? I'm just asking a question. What's up with that? None but love for Giannis, Luka, Jokic. But to the brothers, James A. Naismith, that was here in America. This sport created in America. See, when you say football, the international community can argue because to them, football is soccer. In the National Football League, they got their own version of football. See, that's different. No. Basketball universal. But started here. To the brothers. Because we all brothers from another mother. You know I know that. But I'm just talking about to the brothers, the black dudes. What's up? What's up? What's up? Just a question I'm going to throw out there. When I get back next week, one of the subjects I'm going to tackle is Kyrie Irving needing to be on Team USA, maybe. It's a discussion worth having. I got a lot more to discuss, but that'll be one of the topics I tackle en route to the NBA Finals starting next Thursday. Until then, I'm going to go and enjoy my weekend. I hope y'all do the same. God bless. Peace. Happiness is what it's all about. Enjoy your life. And try not to get in the way of others enjoying theirs. Talk to y'all at the start of next week, Monday to be exact. Until then, peace and love. I'm out.